You're good to go.
All right, thank you. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for being here and welcome to the 2068th meeting of the City of College Place City Council. It is 7 o'clock exactly, and will the clerk please take roll call?
I will. Councilmember Bobbitt,
Present.
Councilmember Cleveland,
Present.
Councilmember Peterson,
Present.
Councilmember Selby,
Present. I'm not muted, am I? Okay.
is he frozen on the screen? I see him there.
Oh, you were frozen.
Yeah, it was you.
Oh, I'm frozen. Sorry. Councilmember Trope,
I'm present.
my apologies. Okay, council members Nyhagen and Sherman have requested to be excused tonight. We do have a quorum. In addition to them and Mayor Hernandez, we have City Attorney Ree Colwell, City Administrator Rizzatello, Finance Director Brian Carlton, Police Chief Troy Tamaris, Fire Chief David Winter, HR Manager Sean Doring, myself, and Deputy Clerk Holm. We do have a quorum.
Wonderful, thank you. It's good to see all your faces again. Will you please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance, please?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And Councilmember Bobbitt, will you say a few words to get us started on a good footing this evening?
Okay, I invite you to bow your heads. Our dear Father in heaven, we pause now at the beginning of this council meeting to invite your presence here with us. We ask for a special blessing on each member who is both present and who are absent tonight. Be with us as we make decisions for our fine city of College Place, we pray. In Jesus' name, amen.
Thank you. Okay, it's now time for public comment. Do we have anybody requesting to speak?
No, not
Okay.
tonight.
Great, thank you. Let's move on to the consent agenda. It consists of the agenda for today, February 9th, 2021, the council minutes from January 26, 2021, the council minutes from January 2nd, 2021's workshop, a purchase of a used grader, Planning Commission appointment confirmations, Meadowbrook Boulevard Construction Engineering Agreement, the EMS contract for 2021 levy distribution, the December 2020 check register and financials, and finally to excuse the absence of Councilmember Nyhagen and Sherman. Are there any items the council would like to remove from the consent agenda at this time?
I just wanted to clarify that the workshop minutes were from February 2nd.
Oh, I'm sorry, did I say January?
That's okay.
February 2nd, thank you. Okay. All those in favor of accepting the consent agenda, say aye.
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 Do we have a motion and a
I
second?
have a motion and a second.
That's what I thought. Can I have a motion? Is there a motion to accept the consent agenda?
Councilmember Selby, I so move.
Thank you. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Councilmember Jerry, second.
Thank you. All those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? All right, the ayes have it. The motion is passed. Thank you, everybody. We have one presentation tonight. It's a proclamation for Black History Month. Let's get that opened. All right, I'm gonna read through this. So it's a City of College Place proclamation, Office of the Mayor. Whereas Black History Month was created by Carter G. Woodson in 1926 to highlight the contributions and accomplishments made to the history of our country that for years had been omitted. And whereas in the city of College Place, we acknowledge and affirm the value of Black lives and the culture that it brings to our area. And whereas we recognize that racism still exists, and as a city, with the help of our Diversity Inclusion Advisory Board, we commit to learning and working to become an anti-racist. And whereas the 2021 national theme for Black History Month observance is the Black family representation, identity, and diversity. And whereas during the month of February, our nation takes a pause to reflect on the injustices and struggles fought and overcome by African Americans throughout our nation's history, and to pay tribute to the battles they have fought in the name of equity. And now, therefore, I, Norma L. Hernandez, Mayor of the City of College Place, Washington, do hereby proclaim February 2021 as Black History Month. Given under my hand and seal as the Mayor of the City of College Place, Washington, this 9th day of February 2021. Thank you. Okay, let's see, no public hearings today. So let's just move on to our action items, which is the CDBG General Purpose Grant, and Mr. Rizzatello will present on that.
Okay, thank you, Mayor. So with this, it's basically a subrecipient agreement with Mercy Corps Northwest. They are the nonprofit that runs the Walla Walla Valley Microenterprise Business Assistance Program. They're doing the call for participants into said cohort right now, and that call will end next week. And so as such, we need to get all this squared away so they can give us the extra seats, and we can have additional folks relative to past years be in this. So as you may recall, typically when we fund this on our own accord, we're able to fund around 2 participants. With the grant that we were able to secure from State Community Development Block Grant, what ended up happening there is they gave us enough grant funds for essentially 12 additional participants, and we're going to split them over the next 2 cohorts. It's an additional 12 seats for $120,000. The subrecipient agreement, we basically mimicked the agreement City of Walla Walla has with Mercy Corps, because the city has their own CDBG program. We ran it through Mercy Corps staff for their approval, and then also State Community Development Block Grant staff, so they were okay with the language of this agreement, which they were. So this just says that we're get essentially subrecipient to Mercy Corps Northwest for the $120,000, and that this grant is essentially active until the end of January 2023.
Sorry about that. I couldn't get my mouse to move.
Oh.
All right, thank you, Mike. Let's go through council members for any questions or comments before any action is taken. We'll start with Mr. Bobbitt.
No questions. Thank you, Mike.
Yep.
Mr. Cleveland,
No questions. Thanks.
Mr. Peterson,
No questions.
Ms. Selby.
I'm really excited about this. Have we had, my recollection is we've had plenty of applicants, so we shouldn't have a problem filling the program. Is that correct?
Yeah, that is correct.
I thought you said you're not really excited about it. I was thinking,
Oh, I'm sorry. No, I am really excited about it. I think this is a great opportunity, and one of the in working with College Place High School, they really focus on the 5th-year plan. And it's been a concern of mine that high school students may struggle to actually be entrepreneurs in the Valley. So I think this is amazing.
Absolutely. Great. Thank you. And Mr. Trope.
No question.
Okay. If you think of anything, please use the button to raise your hand. Otherwise, is there a motion? Do we have a motion to approve the CDBG General Purpose Grant Agreement?
Councilmember Cleveland, I'll motion to approve resolution number 21-007, which authorizes the city administrator to sign a sub-recipient agreement with Mercy Corps Northwest for the Walla Walla Valley Micro Enterprise Assistance Program.
Great, thank you. And Mr. Trope?
Second.
Great, thank you. Any other discussion? All right, seeing none, let's vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Hi.
Aye.
All opposed? All right, great. The ayes have it. The motion is passed. Okay. The next item is council permission to issue an RFP for Central College Place dry well feasibility assessment. That was a bit of a tongue twister for me. Mike, would you like to present?
Sure. So this is another community development block grant we received through the state. It's gone through council approval accepting the grant, but because this is state passed through federal money, there's definitely a very rigid process to follow as far as awarding contracts and even issuing RFP. So in this case, that's why I am seeking formal permission to issue RFP. This would be for about $30,000 to do an assessment. If you may recall, this concept was developed by late Robert Gordon. So originally in the Stormwater Master Plan, there was a thought that in order to deal with all stormwater in the historic core of the community, the only option was to basically pipe it out somewhere like the wastewater treatment plant and put a big hole in the ground and deal with it that way. However, when we rebuilt 10th Street from College Avenue to Birch, there were some test pits drilled, and we were pleasantly surprised that the groundwater was much deeper than we originally suspected. So there was a general concept that there might be some wiggle room to, instead of just viewing the detention basin as the only solution, because detention basins are really expensive. To do one like that, you're talking easily $7 million. It would be easier to instead do a series of dry wells, but there needs to be an analysis to see if the level of groundwater that we experience in Southeast 10th Street is that consistent across the College Avenue corridor, or essentially how does it deviate and if it's a viable option. So this grant basically funds a study up to $30,000, but I just got to get a formal basically request to award, to do an RFP and do the whole process of find a consultant to take care of this.
Thank you, Mike. So let's go through the council members for any questions or comments. Mr. Bobbitt?
On this groundwater level testing, is that something that varies year by year, and do we have an average?
I mean, it can vary year by year, and we have averages from like various construction sites that have occurred throughout the city. So we do have some of that data pulled from, and data from even private developments such as Haven Homes Homestead. So we do have some of that. But yeah, this will just be to determine where to put dry wells and if it's a viable option.
Sounds good. Thank you, Mike.
Yep.
Mr. Cleveland?
No questions, thanks.
Sorry, Ms. Nyhagen, I'm sorry, sorry, Mr. Peterson.
No questions, thank you.
All that and you don't have a question.
Oh, yeah.
Ms. Selby?
I don't so much have a question, but I just want to really say that this is an amazing project, because if we can do it, it's so much better both for the environment and for the aesthetics of our city, that I'm really hoping that this will be possible. And I was really happy once I realized that this was dry wells and not drywall. I was very confused by the drywall proposal at first.
Okay, and Mr. Trope?
Concur with Melanie. No other question.
Okay, and then we're going to go back to Mr. Bobbitt.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear all of what Melody said. My audio is breaking up pretty bad on this end.
Huh.
Summarize.
It's better both for the environment and for the aesthetics of our city to do dry wells. So I hope it works.
All right. If you have any other questions or comments, please use the button to raise your hand. Otherwise, is there a motion? We have a motion.
This is Councilmember Selby. I move to authorize staff to issue the RFP for consultants to conduct a Central College Place feasibility assessment.
Okay, great. Councilmember Peterson?
I'll second that.
Okay, great, thank you. Is there any additional discussion? All right, seeing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, the ayes have it. The motion is passed. That's a good one.
I'm sorry, Mayor. I'm not hearing a lot of the audio. Did you ask for a vote?
I did.
Okay. I missed it.
Would your vote have been an aye or a nay?
It would have been an aye. Approve.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Okay.
Sorry.
That's okay. Thank you. Sorry about that. Some kind of technical. Gotta love this Wi-Fi. The next item is a downtown parking lot grant opportunity, and Mike again will present on that.
Okay, this is just a resolution of support for a grant application I plan to submit. This was introduced at the previous workshop. Basically, USDA Rural Development, which is the grant funding agency that's primarily helping us with Southwest Sewer, they also have a program where they assist with some investment pertaining directly to small business corridors and economic development. One of the cities in Eastern Washington, City of Pullman, did a similar parking lot project with them. And I know within the comprehensive plan, the strategic plan, it's come up several times, Economic Development Commission. One of the issues as far as really making College Avenue a walkable mixed-use corridor is really some lack of parking, because just as things redevelop, if you look at it from a site-by-site perspective, doing parking that way, it can limit what you're developing, whereas in some of the older downtown areas, you can have like shared municipal parking facilities where the city builds in, and over time as development occurs, there's various carve outs for the newer development to pay back a section of it. So the concept here is that if we get this grant, it would do an assessment to determine what would be the best area to put the parking. I mean, some initial concepts would be like the middle of the block between like 8th and 10th on the west side. There's a big empty parcel in the middle of the block that would be ideal for that. There's also, like, for instance, the southwest corner of 8th and College. It's vacant and for sale right now. There's some empty property behind some of the hotel rental rooms the university has. So there's several places to put this. So this would determine what would be the most viable, and then also would assist with funding the design of it and then construction. So at this juncture, this is just a resolution of support. We still have to apply for this. This doesn't secure us anything contractually. So that's why I have for this.
Okay, thank you, Mike. Let's go through council members for questions or comments. And we're going to actually start with Mr. Cleveland.
No questions, thanks.
Okay, Mr. Peterson,
No questions.
Ms. Selby,
No questions, but kudos to Mike. You are amazing when it comes to finding us awesome opportunities.
Thanks.
here. Mr. Trope,
I think Mike's amazing in many ways, including that. No other questions.
and Mr. Bobbitt.
Ditto.
All right.
No questions. Thank you.
Mike's going to get a fat head here. We need to find something to knock him down a little bit. And we'll have to do
He's probably a Chiefs fan.
Clearly not on purpose.
All right. If there's any other questions or comments, please use the button to raise your hand. Otherwise, is there a motion? Councilmember Peterson.
I'm sorry, my mouse, just give me 1 second.
Totally get it.
Oh, boy, yeah, everything went up. I would move to authorize resolution number 21-008, which supports a grant application into the USDA-RD Rural Business Development Grant Program to create a shared municipal parking facility within the downtown College Place, College Avenue Business Corridor.
Fabulous, thank you. Is there a second?
Second, Councilmember Jerry.
Thank you. Any additional discussions? All right, let's go into voting. All those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? All right, it's unanimous. The ayes have it. The motion is passed. Thank you, Mike. Kind of breezed through this. We have one administrative report tonight, and it's the revision to city fireworks ordinance, and Chief Winter will present.
Good evening. Mike wanted me to talk with you tonight because he felt he was manipulating the meeting by speaking through the whole thing. So he thought he'd give me an option to talk about fireworks. So this is, I don't want to say this is a proposal from the fire department. This is an option from the fire department. We aren't necessarily a fan of putting more restrictions on fireworks than we already have. We're not a fan of the reducing of the days for a lot of different reasons. One, it troubles me personally and professionally that this is an avenue to restrict freedom and an expression of freedom over a holiday where that's the point. So that bothers me quite a bit. The secondly is I don't know of any way of enforcing this because I don't have the staff. I'm sure Chief Tamars can talk about that. He doesn't have the staff to go around and look for people who are lighting off fireworks. I think if we do condense into one day, it's going to be a horrendous problem on that one day as well. And I know some of this is coming from the experiences we had this last summer. But I really think that those house fires were probably caused because of the COVID. We didn't have a huge celebration, so people were trying to do something for their own mental stability on their own. And I think those fires were actually reduced in size because we were able to get to them quickly because the people who caused the fire reported the fire. If we have a situation where on the 1st or the 2nd of July, someone lights off fireworks and then runs because they know they've done something that's against the law, it's going to take way more time for us to respond to these fires, and it would be a lot more severe. This is, your choice, and we will happily do whichever way you go. But I did want to express that we don't really have a whole lot to stand on statistically to say that limiting the day is going to make less of a problem. We actually think there's more of a problem when people are hiding and doing it in their backyards. It's going to cause more fires. They're not reported sooner. But, we work for the pleasure of the council. And if this is the direction the council would like us to go, we would support whatever decision you might have in this area. I'm happy to take questions.
All right, is anybody going to brave enough to ask questions of Chief Winter?
This is Councilmember Selby. I actually have a comment and a question.
Sure.
My comment is, in addition to the concerns that Chief Winter laid out, I'm also concerned about the impact of sales on the nonprofits that use this as a money maker. I'm not directly involved with any of the groups that do that, but it seems like this would really cut down on their ability to sell fireworks. Related question, on New Year's Eve, I was thinking to myself, when I heard everything going off at midnight, I wonder if we should add New Year's Eve as an okay time to do fireworks to our code for exactly the same reasons that the chief just laid out, having it there in July. Because there seems to be an awful lot going on New Year's Eve as well.
Mike has a response to that.
Yeah, a couple things. So you can do it on New Year's Eve. It's already in the code, and it's even in this code proposal too, to keep it that way. So New Year's Eve you can do it, and how our current code is right now is basically July 1st through 4th. The only reason why we brought the July 4th only thing for the summer element to you was because some residents did reach out to us, and I feel it, and we felt that it was a good discussion to have. Those of you that know me know I have my personal opinion about this, but I'll just leave it there. Especially Jerry knows that, but
Firsthand.
I apologize. I did not actually take time to read the code because I thought I remembered it. So relying on my memory is no longer a recipe for success.
All right, we have Councilmember Trope.
You read through the code.
So we have Councilmember Trope and then Councilmember Peterson after him.
So just a comment, not a question. I mean, I'll preface this in a couple of ways. One, I'm a veteran. I'm as patriotic as the next guy. I also have a dog at home who's terrified of this, and we literally spend all the fireworks time up with that dog because he struggles with that, and I know I'm not the only one in that situation. The argument reminds me of that movie that's on TV now called The Purge, where they have one night where you can run amok because, hey, people need to do that. The holiday is the 4th of July, and I respectfully agree that people should have the right to do this. I've lived here now for 4 or 5 years. I've seen in my neighborhood, so one of the fires this past year, was 200 yards from my house. Several years ago, or 3 or 4 years ago, there was one literally 2 houses down that burned down the guy's truck and almost took their house with people living inside. I think these things are dangerous. They're not supervised effectively. And to have a whole week of this to me just feels excessive. I'm not going to argue that you have it one night. I don't think you should be able to do this at 2 and 3 in the morning. It feels adolescent, and I think there is a reasonable amount of celebration we can have. The rest of it feels different than that, I'll say. And it doesn't feel like a celebration. It feels like almost feels disrespectful in some ways.
Thank you. And Councilmember Peterson.
Yeah, I don't know if this is something for a workshop, perhaps. I know we don't have a lot of time. I'd like to see this brought out and discussed more. I agree completely with Councilmember Trove. Fires are not the issue. We have a limited number of those. For me, it's kind of a wait and see if this was something during the COVID time where this was a letting off of steam this last 4th of July. This last 4th of July was clear off of the spectrum of what we normally experience during the 4th of July. And so I don't know if this was a one-off or if this is the future. I think I've also, it's not, not necessarily a popular point of view, but I'm also wondering how we're regulating or looking at what is being sold. I know years back there was a certain level of noise or explosion or whatever. It seems now that maybe that has slipped, or what is deemed appropriate or what's legal if anyone's looking at that or monitoring that, because it does seem like they were louder, bigger, it's kind of a thin argument to say, well, they're all doing this and nothing we can do about it. If you did anything else like that in the city, it would be problematic. So I would like to revisit this. It is a problem. There are complaints, and this last 4th of July was unlike any that I've seen probably in my experience at College Place. Thanks.
Thank you. Anyone else have a question, comment, discussion? Councilmember Bobbitt, and then we'll go back to Chief Winter.
Yes, I guess I have kind of mixed feelings. I was looking through some of the changes. Seems like some of it is restricting times for the sale of the fireworks. And I'm not sure if that's quite fair to the vendors, because they can't service everybody in a very short time. I would like to see some restrictions on time on the days before or after the holidays. But on the holiday, let us celebrate. I'm kind of agreeing with Chief Winter there. We need to have that freedom. We also need to use common sense and consideration of our neighbors. End the comments.
All right. And Chief Winter. Oh, and then Mike, we'll go back to you after Chief Winter.
So I think if we chose to change the policy, or we want to encourage people to not be so reckless, that we should give them some ideas of alternatives. Maybe we have, take the money you would spend for fireworks and put it towards the city fireworks plan, and we'll give you a sticker or a medallion or something that says, I'm a College Place citizen and I support freedom. And they can put it on their car or carry it around with them or something like that. And then we would have a bigger and better show every year because people knew they were supporting the community and that supports freedom. That's just an idea, but it might curve some of at least the amount that's being shot off.
You, Mike?
Yeah. I just wanted to add, as far as the dates sold, actually the proposal opens up actually a little bit more, because if you look at subsection A, that of 8.0, the 9 a.m. to 11 p.m. July 1st through 4th, that was in the existing code, so there was no change there. What was added was actually daytime hours on New Year's Eve, because in looking at like what the county has, we actually had no selling time for New Year's Eve, and the county did. So that felt a little incongruent. So that's just a little bit of explanation as far as the sale dates go. So the July dates, there was nothing changed from the original ordinance. It's on the books now for the July period, but the July 31st edition was to be congruent with the county.
Okay. Okay, and we're going to go to Councilmember Selby and then to Councilmember Trope.
I was just going to comment that it sounds like this would be a good workshop item, because it seems like we have, we're not completely in agreement, and we seem to have a lot of questions about what's actually happening. So I think it would be good to have a workshop.
Okay, thank you. Councilmember Trope.
Just one more comment. It's hard to sit back. I do recognize that in the time of COVID, people needed to release steam. I'll accept all of that. At the same time, though, I look at how our country has responded to COVID, and we've equated mask wearing to freedom. And I don't like that. And I don't like equating the ability to run amok with fireworks with freedom. I don't think that's what the intention is. I don't think that's what freedom is about. And that bothers me.
Thank you. Councilmember Cleveland.
A couple comments. One is that a lot of people will visit family on the 4th of July or for the 4th of July, and the 4th of July could end up on a weekend or near the weekend, and having a range of dates allows them to celebrate with their family when the 4th of July may be on a Monday or Wednesday or something like that. The other being that, I guess, depending on people's buying habits, they might have a specific amount budgeted for what they want to spend on fireworks. If there are more days available to shoot off fireworks, they probably don't spend much more, if any, on those fireworks. But all that money would be, all the fireworks would be lit off on one day as opposed to 4. So you'd have more fireworks going off in a smaller time frame, which would increase risk for fires for the fire department, meaning splitting resources. If fireworks are spent over a larger time period, then that does mitigate the risk somewhat, potentially.
Okay. And I think we're definitely going to take this to a workshop, but I then want to share a bit. So I received 3 phone calls maybe, and 4 letters and 3 emails the day after 4th of July, 2020. And it's, nothing that hasn't been said. So the prolonging it, a lot of people had a very difficult time with their pets and animals, that it wasn't just on one day, that it was 3-4 days and of anxiety, and some people call it terrorizing their pets. Elderly, I got an email from 2 who their parents couldn't sleep because of the booms until 2 in the morning and the constant noise. I did get an email from one of the people whose house did burn. They were not happy at all. And just in general, I've got to admit, in my neighborhood, they were popping till 2 in the morning. And they weren't just the pretty crackling kind, it was the boom, shake your windows kind that was going on. And I think some people had that in their neighborhoods, and that's why I got those emails and phone calls, because it just went on too early in the morning. They understood. Nobody said, let's ban. Actually, one person said, let's ban them, but nobody else said, let's ban them. They just wanted a little bit more control and encouragement to the citizens. It's going to be very hard to patrol, and we understand that. But they were hoping, that we could at least put some community standards and hope that our neighbors would follow some at some point, because that's where this conversation kind of went. And I did assure everybody that emailed or called or even sent a letter that we would discuss it. So that's why it's on this agenda. You know, aside from the letters, phone calls, and emails, there's for any of you that are on Facebook, there's a few community kinds of forums, and there was a lot of talk about complaining about the fireworks last year. So again, it could just have been the COVID, but it's just a discussion item to see if there's something we want to try to implement to just kind of put some parameters and encouragement of proper behaviors and considerations. You know, lighting those firecrackers at 1, 2 in the morning still is just, that's not celebrating freedom. That's just making a lot of noise. So let's put this on a workshop agenda, and we will talk about it a little bit more at that point. Everybody kind of put your thinking caps on, and we might want to see if we can hear from any of the community, pro or against, just kind of have some idea what our community would like to see more of. We heard, you know, just a few weeks ago from people who live on one block, and it was enough to take us set back and kind of consider what's going to happen. So let's see what the community's kind of saying at large. Is there any other Attorney Reed Colwell would like to speak?
I just wanted to see if the council wanted me to participate in the workshop to talk about enforcement of the code.
Yeah, it looks like they're all saying yes.
I can do that.
Perfect. Thank you.
Great idea.
Lisa, can you make sure you let her know when it comes up on that workshop agenda?
I will do that.
Thank you. Thank you. Any other questions or comments? Okay. Thank you so much, Chief Winter. I know it's a difficult discussion. Thank you. Let's see, there's a couple of informational reports in your packet for you to review. And before we close, Chief Tamaris, are you still with us? Okay, he might not be with us.
No, I'm with you. Sorry, I'm slow on the button.
That's okay. This past weekend, if any of you didn't see it on Facebook, we had some volunteers do some very great community service to us. And I would like Chief Tamaris just to kind of give us an update on who it was, what they did, and what the value was to the community.
Yeah, absolutely. So Walla Area Crime Watch, I reached out to them this last week. The city got hit really hard with gang graffiti, and you obviously want to get on top of that right away, because that type of graffiti promotes other crime. It minimizes property values, and just it can be threatening. It's claiming territory. There's so many things that are bad about having that type of graffiti in your community. I reached out to them, and they were gracious, and they jumped right on it and formed a group of volunteers. A whole gaggle of young adults from Life Church came, and along with some other adult volunteers in the community. And on the 5th, we spent the whole afternoon. I shouldn't say we, they spent the whole afternoon going around the city along with our code enforcement officer, Ron Nordman, and covered up all the graffiti. So just big kudos to them. Just really appreciate what they did for us. And we have to stay on top of it. So that's what they did. So thank you, Mayor.
Absolutely. Thank you for working on that. It was very quick, and it was great seeing people out in the community doing some cleanup to make sure that, you know, the gangs don't have their say-so anywhere in our city, and that take care of our neighbors who unfortunately had their fences or properties damaged with that. So thank you all. Is there any other business for good of the order? All right, seeing none, is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
I was going to say, I can find another discussion item. Is there a second?
Second.
All right. All those in, well, actually, if there's no objection, then the meeting is adjourned at 7:44 p.m. Thank you, everybody. Appreciate your participation. Good night.
Have a great week.